it wasn't just one moment, it was a series of moments that I've seen throughout my whole life of God just being there when I needed him there. There's been countless moments where um, there's certain things I needed and he showed up. Because he has been there so much for me, I want to help uh, facilitate ways for others to receive Jesus. What I love to do is I love to share about opportunities with people in the US. Hey, we're building this. This is what we're going to do there. They're going to hear about Jesus. Do you want to be a part of this?
Hey guys, I know it's before the actual full duration of this video starts, but I want to encourage you guys to watch this whole video because it's truly impactful. There's stories in here that I believe can actually change people's lives and understand the importance of missions. So you guys please watch to the end and just allow the Lord to stir up in you what he needs to stir up in you when it comes to mission work and all this kind of stuff. So you guys, enjoy. Hello and welcome everybody to Divine Dialogues. I'm your host, Xavier Thomas. Today I have a very special episode. I'm with a new friend. I mean, we've met kind of a while ago, but this is kind of our one of our few times after we initially met, collabing together and getting some things going. I'm with my guy Flavius Sterciuc. Okay. And here's the thing. We met the way we met. I don't know if you understand how random our meeting was because my uncle was actually hitting at I actually just had my uncle on last week, so if you didn't watch that episode, go watch it and you'll get some kind of background as to how this all took place. But I was with my uncle at a charity golf event at his charity or nonprofit. I don't know the exact lingo, but he did say it's a nonprofit, so we'll go with that. I was with my uncle at one of his events, and I picked up fairly quickly that this was like a relatively Christian event. And the reason I got that is some of the language that was being used, and then on some of the holes that we would have like pastors and stuff come up, like that was a pretty common thing. And if you go to a charity event that's like not affiliated with Christianity there's some wild folks that are out there. So when I wasn't getting that vibe for the most part. I mean, there still was some wild stuff because you got big companies out there and whatnot, but it wasn't as wild. People weren't saying it as
Mhm.
vile things. And then I remember you rolling up on our hole and you started talking about all this mission work that you guys were doing, and I didn't really understand what was going on with the whole charity event. I was just there like supporting my uncle and watching how he does things. But you rolled up and you started talking about the mission work that you guys did, and I was like, hold on, okay, I understood that this was a Christian event, but not only is this a Christian event, but this actually a mission, like it's a missionary work, evangelistic work type stuff. And so I was talking, we were chopping it up, and just like I got this biggest sense of like the Lord led me here. And so it was a really amazing moment for me in seeing the Lord move in a way of like, because I my uncle hit me up like the day before to go to that event, and I don't live too far away, but typically we would plan something like that a little bit more in advance. But yeah, it was really dope. So what exactly is the foundation, and then your role in it?
Yeah. Well, first off, Xavier, thanks for having me on. I love your the name of the pod, Divine
Thank you.
Dialogues. Like it's
Yeah.
just there's nothing like a good conversation about what God's doing and the blessings we have in our lives. So that's yeah, I think it's amazing what you're doing and I want you to keep it going.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um yeah, as far as what I do, I run a nonprofit called Vital Solutions. Started about 11 years ago. And my role is I'm the executive director, so I do basically all the day-to-day with our staff, fundraising, marketing, um, events, donor relations, church partnerships, pretty much everything. We're a smaller nonprofit, so you have to wear many hats. But I enjoy it because every day is a little different, and I meet some amazing people.
That's awesome. Speaking of wearing different hats, I got it
Oh,
on.
nice.
Yeah, I got it on. This was a
For Hope.
yeah. This is your guys' hat, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. I got it at the charity event. My uncle bought it for me, so I was like, I'll rep it today. I don't know why I had it on backwards because I totally meant to have it on forward, but it's okay. Um, so where does faith play into this as far as like I said, I picked up on some Christian type
Yeah.
lingo and then obviously the mission work.
Yeah, well, my father founded it uh, when in 2013, 14, whenever it was. And, he's a Christian, he's a pastor. Our family has been rooted in faith. And so um, that's at the core and foundation of what we do. Um, we do kind of a three-prong approach to our work. We believe in holistic care, mind, body, and soul. So we build schools in impoverished areas. We build medical clinics in these same areas, and we plant churches. So we look after the whole person. So that's kind of um, our avenue. The church planting side is our avenue for faith. But then we integrate faith in our schools, in our medical clinics. All of our staff around the world are all believers too. So I mean, it's at our core.
Yeah. How do you sort of integrate, because you talked about schools, how do you integrate faith and school together? Because especially in the States, like it seems like it's becoming more and more and more of a secular environment and not
Yeah.
just secular, but almost anti-God and anti-Jesus environment. So how are you sort of incorporating those values into it?
Yeah, good question. And honestly, it's just a lot easier in other countries.
Sure.
That's the bottom line. But I think it helps because all of our schools are on the same property as our church and our medical clinic. So everything is in one. So whatever city we're in, we build a school, medical clinic, and a church all on the same property. So the students that come there know that they're on the same property as a church. They're going to hear about Jesus every day. All of our teachers are Christian. Our principal that's leading that location is a Christian. And so you can't not hear about
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. And what's sort of because you talked about it being impoverished areas. So what are sort of the demographics, quote unquote, that you get in these schools and
Yeah. I
churches for
mean,
that matter?
yeah, we're in about 10 countries around the world. So, East Africa,
Mhm.
Eastern Europe, the Middle East. And so some of these countries that we're in, I mean, the poorest of the poor, we have properties in the slums. We have a school that's on a brick factory that's filled with slaves. We have Eastern Europe. We do work with refugees, and so I mean every country has a different issue and a different problem, but at the core, again, it's all about Jesus and sharing the hope of Jesus.
Yeah, that's amazing. Speaking of Jesus, most of the time you'll encounter people who really love Jesus and they have some type of experience with him where they're like, this is the moment where I decided to give my life to him forever. I have one of those stories myself and I've shared it on here a couple of times. But for you, what does that moment look like? Is it this super profound, like I was in the lowest of lows and God just met me there? What was that experience for you?
That's a good question. I sometimes wish I had a more impactful story of, I was down the wrong path and
Sure.
Jesus like plucked me out and brought me. But in reality, for me, I grew up in the church. My family have always been in church. And so for me, it wasn't just one moment, it was a series of moments that I've seen throughout my whole life of God just being there when I needed him there. From high school, college, professional life, marriage, kids, there's been countless moments where um, there's certain things I needed and he showed up. And that for me is why I will always believe in Jesus because he's been there when I needed him. And and Yeah, so I wish it was more of an impactful thing, but because he has been there so much for me, I want to help uh, facilitate ways for others to receive Jesus now through
Gotcha.
our schools, clinics, medical, and church, excuse me. And so um, now part of what I love to do is I love to share about opportunities with people in the US. Hey, we're building this. This is what we're going to do there. They're going to hear about Jesus. Do you want to be a part of this? I have an opportunity for you to partner with us so people can hear about Jesus, you know.
Yeah,
And so that's kind of how I'm framing it of like, okay, God has blessed me with so much. How can I bless others? And so my dad's always been a good example of that for me of not just settling, of like, wow, came to America, started businesses, thankful to God. Now let's just ride that wave.
yeah,
No, he actually was like, all right, well, these are running. Thank you, Jesus. Now, how can I get back? And so that has always been for our family a core of always giving back, trying to help people that some of these people you'll never meet, you know. But yeah, so that's what I love about what I do, and um, it's an honor to be able to. There's I can't tell you how many countless stories of people that I have seen on these trips that their lives are forever changed,
right.
their families' lives are forever changed, and so yeah, it's a privilege to do this work and to invite and include others to be a part of it, you know.
Absolutely. So you just mentioned something that I think is actually really powerful. And well, there's a lot of things, starting with the the potential mind frame that you can put yourself in of like, oh, I don't have this elaborate story. I didn't come from robbing other people or doing this kind of stuff to where the Lord just had to meet me because I was going down such a bad path. But I think that's so powerful because, and the reason I think that is I've often felt that some similar feelings to that. But the reason I think it's so powerful is because you look at your impact, and it doesn't come from having this story of like, oh, I can relate to these people so well because I mean, in a sense, because you're like you said, your dad moved here, so maybe there's some ties in that regard. But all that to say, like your your troubled past or lack thereof doesn't negate how God uses you in the future. And so I think that's so
100%.
powerful to just understand like it's a blessing to have a life where your head was on somewhat straight and there wasn't too many paths leading the other direction. And I'm very grateful for that in myself too. I mean, I did have some moments here and there where it I guess a lot of moments there were like, okay, Lord, step in, and he did. But I want to talk to you a little bit about your family because, like you said, they're so you could. I would like you to go over like where they're from,
Yeah.
the desire to move here, and just that kind of story behind it.
Yeah, so our family, we are Romanian, from Romania, Eastern Europe, and I was born into communism. So
Mm.
in 1987 I was born. Romania was a communist country run by a dictator. I mean, there was food rations. You're only allowed this much a day, this much milk. This you had to. Fam Neighbors were spying on each other to try to get ahead with the government. Maybe they'll give me extra food. And anyways, it was just it was a tough time. And my parents, they had just had me. They were 20 years old with a 2-year old, and so they wanted something better. They knew this wasn't sustainable. This isn't the life they wanted. And so my parents basically they each attempted to cross the border to escape Romania. They got caught, put in prison. It's a wild story that we
Oh,
can get into another time. But ultimately, they made it across after another attempt. We lived in Austria, in a Salvation Army refugee camp for a year. We found out we had some distant relatives in America, in Seattle. They sponsored us to come to America as political refugees. Um, so we came to the U.S. with nothing. Um, uh, and I mean, I was 3 at the time when we came here, so I was a tag along, but my parents worked hard. My
Yeah.
parents came literally from nothing and struggled and worked really hard, and their hard work paid off. But then they always knew that they got help along the way to get here. So now, how could they help others? And so that's again one of our uh, pillars of our family of just our we want to help and give back. And so it's especially when the stuff happened in Ukraine and all these refugees were coming actually into Romania. So my father was born a couple miles from the Ukrainian border. And so when that first week when the war started, my dad flew there because his family is still there. He had crazy connections, and so he was able to help people find housing, food, uh, clothing, shelter, all this. So um, we know what it's like to be refugees, and so he wanted to be there to help those. And so, yeah, it's part of our
That's
story.
that's crazy. Okay, so I part of the I guess beauty of living in America and living such a quote unquote lavish life. Uh, I say lavish life meaning like sure I don't live in a mansion, but a in contrast to other places in the world, like it's a pretty lavish life. So, in thinking about it, I've literally never even thought about the idea of having to cross a border to try to support your family and living. So, what does that process look like? Like, I maybe you don't want to go into the entire thing, and if you do, that's totally fine. But how do how do you go about crossing the border and then getting caught? What does that look like?
Well, it's a super long story, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest, but I can give you some snippets. So, uh, what what the process is like is kind of like a movie. You go in the dark in the night, going through fields, and soldiers are patrolling, and dogs are coming, and so it's basically like a movie. And all you're doing is trying to get to the other side of this border, because other side of that border is a free country, and so you're kind of willing to risk everything. And so, yeah, they got caught, they got put in prison, beaten, all this stuff because they didn't, the soldiers, the army didn't want uh, people escaping their country. They want to control everyone. That's part of communism. And so, uh, yeah, then they got sent home, and then they were told that if they try again, they'll be put in prison for life. And so, after a couple months, they regrouped, made a new plan, and they tried again because that there was no better option,
Yeah.
So they made it, and the story, which is insane, there's just a series of God moments when my dad crossed and how certain things happened that only God could have made happen. And um, so yeah, his decision to take that risk altered the trajectory of our lineage.
Yeah.
The it's incredible now that to see what we have, where our family is, and the impact we have around the world. And but it takes these decisions along the way to get to this point. And so yeah, very grateful for him and the risk he took.
Right. Praise God for that. I mean, seriously, that is an insane, like, just series of events. And I like to think in like pictures. And like when you said it was like a movie, I felt like I was watching it. And I can just imagine like your parents running, carrying you. You're probably crying, screaming, just like, but I
Well, I
have
will
a hard,
say, sorry, I will say
no, you're
I
good.
wasn't with them. They
Oh,
left me
okay,
with the
okay.
grandparents. So Yeah, I wasn't there. That would have been too wild.
Okay. Yeah. Because I was gonna say that would be, yeah, like you said, too wild because that's how do you control a 2-year-old running through a field with soldiers?
No, yeah.
I was like, man. So then how if you weren't there, how did they eventually get you over?
Well, my my dad made it across,
Hmm.
and they released my mom, and they because she had a baby at home, they released her, but they my mom didn't try again because the risk was too high. She had a baby at home, but my dad did. Once my dad made it over, he was able to get us over. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
that's kind of how I imagined it went. But
yeah.
is this conflict in Romania still going on?
No, it's a they had a revolution in 1990,
Hmm.
and and so yeah, free country now. It's still it's still dealing with the ramifications of communism and all that, but it's progressed a lot. Uh, I'm very proud to be Romanian. They're a great people, hardworking people that have gone all over the world and have created better lives for themselves and their families. And yeah, we love going back every couple years. I still have countless cousins and uncles and aunts and yeah, a ton of family there. So yeah, it's a beautiful place, and I can't wait to go back.
How are so like I imagine in the midst of because automatically assume during this time frame it's either on the back of some type of war or civil war trying to just some is that accurate? Think it's there's some type of war going on or was at that time?
No, it's just a dictator
Oh,
took
okay.
control back then,
Okay.
and just yeah, made a series of bad decisions, and power corrupts absolutely.
That's crazy. Okay, so how are your because like you said you have many cousins, many aunts, many uncles. How do they deal with the effects today of things that were probably birthed 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, I would say it's still hard to find work, find
Mm,
jobs. It's hard to start a business. Um, a lot of them actually move in other countries around Europe because it's easier to find work there. And then they save money, and then eventually later in their adult years, they move back to Romania, build something, and kind of, but uh, and land there. But it's just too hard to find work, and so most of my cousins that are my age in their 30s, late 30s, are around Europe because it's just better pay for and you can do more.
yeah. It's actually it's not funny in the sense of like what went on, but I think about whatever I hear the words Romania, I automatically just think of like Andrew Tate because he lives there. I don't know if you're familiar with who he is.
Yeah.
But like he makes it seem like this lavish place, and like you said, it's a beautiful place, and but he makes it seem like it's like the perfect place in the world. And I had little to no idea about this conflict that went on, uh, seemingly within my lifetime. Maybe I don't know when did it stop.
1990, it became a free country.
Okay, so not quite, but still like not too far removed from a pretty bad
Yeah.
situation and it is cool to see maybe the turnaround and how it can flip and the Lord can bring everything back together. And my question is because I'm not too smart. And so when you throw out this word communism, I'm like, what is that? So what are some of the effects of communism or what it even means that made you guys want to leave in the first place? I know you mentioned some of it, but
Um, you had there's no freedom, and especially as a Christian, you were persecuted.
mm,
If they knew you were a Christian in school, my parents said that when they were in elementary, junior high, high school, those years, teachers would beat you or purposely do things to you because they knew you were Christian. Um, Other kids would mock you and beat you up, and so um, yeah, that's just one of them. But then again, there was whatever farmland you had at your home, you had to give the government most of it. You're only allowed a portion of that for yourself. You had to wait in lines for hours for milk, for meat. And if they ran out, then they ran out, and your
Oh
family
man.
wasn't getting food. There's no freedom. You couldn't just go anywhere. There were curfews. Uh, you got together with family. You didn't know who's watching you, who's telling on you. Yeah, there's a ton of that, where the government wants to control everything, and
Sure.
that's not how we're meant to live. It's not sustainable. That's why in history it doesn't ever work out in the long run.
Sure. So what
Yeah.
was this what was the I know kind of your dad started it, but where you come into play, what was the desire for to continue with missions?
Yeah, good question. So growing up, obviously uh, my dad would go on trips all the time. He's also a nurse, and so he'd go on medical trips around the world. And then kind of when I got to high school, I started taking my own trips. When I got to college, I continued that. And I like adventure, but I like combining it with doing good.
Sure.
Hence the hat, do good,
Like it.
That's one of our slogans for Vital Solutions. So, um, yeah, I think there's so many opportunities, no matter what field you're in, no matter what age you are, to do good locally and globally. And
Sure.
so, um, I just wanted to continue that, and once I got to college, like I said, was still taking trips internationally, mission trips, uh, and then into my professional years, started doing that more, taking teams, and yeah, now I do it for a living, and I love it.
That's awesome, man. And like I am a huge advocate for going on mission trips and living on mission and like you said not just overseas but here as well. But one of the things that I have and I think part of the reason that I have this ideology behind like needing to go on mission is because I have felt the call in my life to be an evangelist, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go like to all the ends of the earth. You specifically, in terms of the call as believers, we are called to go to the ends of the earth, but individually, that's not everybody's call. But I do feel like this sort of evangelistic calling of like needing to go to be here first, but needing to go to the nations and proclaim the gospel and see revivals happening. So, what are some of the fruits that you have seen going on these mission trips
Yeah,
and leading
that's
them
that's a
now?
good. Yeah. Well, first off, I with the teams that we take, I've seen so many people that have been impacted. They think they're going on a trip to impact people,
Wow.
but in reality, they are they are arriving with expectations, but the Lord kind of rocks them, and then they get so much impact, not just from leaving their comfort, but going somewhere and realizing how blessed we are and how much we have. We complain, we have these first world problems. I do it too every week. Oh, my coffee's too hot, or
Sure, sure, sure.
little things like that we just realize once we're in those settings just how blessed we are in the grand scheme, how much we have, and how much of a blessing it is to live in America, where it's the land of opportunity. We could do anything here, and so yeah, starts with the teams that we take, the impact they receive and they bring home, and it infiltrates their community, their life, and that's what we want. We want them to come home and bring that hope, like, look what we did, you can do it too.
Yeah.
And then on the ground there, the people that we encounter, whether it's schools, medical clinics, or churches, we do pop-up medical camps. We work with refugees, like I said. We work with young families, widows, orphans, all this. Every single person is in some way or another getting impacted, whether receiving care, education, uh, receiving the hope of Jesus. these orphan kids that are at our schools, having one of our team members just pick them up and hold them, that might be the only time they're being held that year. There's hundreds of kids at our school, so the teachers can't be there for everyone.
Yeah.
And so that's what I tell our teams, like, what if your only purpose for coming on this trip is to connect with one child at our school and to just hold their hand, show them attention? That might be the only attention they get. That might be the only love that they receive, you know? So there's just so much impact that we make on the ground, but with our teams. Um, and that's what we want. We want people to feel the hope on the ground from teams coming, but then we also want our teams to be impacted and feel the love and hope in these other countries so that when they come home, they are realizing how blessed we are.
For
I need
sure.
it too. Every trip I come home and I'm like, wow. And I go on many trips,
Yeah.
and I need that reminder every year too.
Yeah.
And so we want them to come home and spread that love of Jesus and spread that hope and encourage others to do the same, and so we always tell our teams, like, go home, share, tell people about your trip, tell people what happened.
Absolutely. One of the things that I kind of just I know I do it and I know a lot of other people do it, but like you associate mission trips automatically with like crazy miraculous stories of like somebody grows back a limb or something like that. And not to downplay the already miraculous encounters that you have, like you said, just spreading love in general to people that maybe never feel it. But is there any of that for the crazy charismatic believers that are like, oh man, I just need to see the sick healed and demons cast out and stuff like that? Like, do you guys encounter any of those type of events?
Yeah, we do. And those are we've seen people get healed. We've seen marriages restored, families reunited. And yes, we have dealt with people that have been demon possessed, and uh, these are heavy moments. It's not an everyday, every trip kind of event, but it does happen sometimes.
Sure.
But I would say the biggest thing is in order to uh, open someone up to the word and to the hope of Jesus, you have to help them in a practical way first.
Absolutely.
Whether that's education, whether that's at a medical camp and providing them free health care for that day, like, hey, come here, get a checkup, we'll give you meds. But then we'd love for you to come to the church event. We'd love to share with you. Or if it's a widow and she has her 5, 6 kids with her, she's not going to be that open to hearing about Jesus because she needs help in that moment.
Yeah.
And so we give her grocery bags of food. Hey, this will last you the next month. God bless you. If you want to come back here on Sunday, we're going to be here. Come hear about Jesus. But you got to help them in a practical way. Um, but yeah, we've seen countless people get, there's just we've seen miracles happen.
Yeah.
And they're just signs that God is everywhere and God is good.
Absolutely. And I think it's so beautiful hearing just the practical because I think it's I could be wrong, but I think it's James chapter 4. He says, "Don't just go out and say God bless you and don't do anything for them." It's he says that's almost like a bad thing to do, like to just say God bless you and don't give them a blanket or don't feed them or something like that. So you guys taking the very practical route of just like we're here to help, and the crazy miraculous stuff is just a byproduct of Jesus moving and it has nothing to do with us because we're here just to help and that's what Jesus has called us to do. So I love that mentality. What's the first missions trip that you went on?
Ooh, good question. First mission trip. Well, in
So
high
many.
school. Yeah, I know. Junior high
Mm,
at my church, we went to and I think it was a mission trip. I mean, I considered a mission trip. We went to LA and Watts, like big time gang violence there. And we went with a group from our church from Seattle down there, and we basically spent a week cleaning up a school. We redid the playground, cleared out everything. In the evenings, we did worship services, and people shared testimonies. And we basically, I was like 15 at the time. We basically just hung out with kids our age and got to know them, got to know their story. And I think again, that's connecting, and that's letting people know that there's other people out there that uh, care about them, that are taking time to be there. No, no agenda. No, I don't want anything back. I'm just here to hang out, get to know you, and help where I can. And um, so yeah, I think that was the first one, and then yeah, Africa after India, all over. So
Big step after. Do
yeah,
you remember? Do you remember any sort of just moment from that first trip where you're like, "Oh man, this is what I'm supposed to be doing"?
I think I think the first time I realized an impact like that was when I was 18, when I was in India. Uh, that was my first kind of big trip on my own. Went over there for 3 weeks, and I lived in a orphanage, basically an hour outside of Mumbai. And so um, I got to know these orphan kids, all walks of life. I mean, I think the youngest was like 3 and the oldest was 18. It's a big school, and you're just living with them, eating with them, sharing life with them. And um, I think that's when the first time I think I was a little older and I started realizing that um, I can make an impact doing this. And
Yeah.
so I still actually am in contact through social media with some of those guys from 20 years ago. Um, but I think when you actually get to spend time with people and get to know them, the you find out you have a lot of similarities. And even though you may live in other countries, different walks of life and circumstances, but you're still human. They still have passions. You have passions. They're still dealing with stuff that you are, um, and so for me, that's where I learned that I can make an impact by just getting to know. It's just something as simple as spending time with people,
Yeah.
and then you come home, you learn that you can share with people, and people will want to partner with you in different ways. Some will want to donate financially. Some will just say, "Hey, I want to come with you on the next one," and others will just want to pray. Which is just as impactful. Hey, let's pray for that ministry. Keep them in. So that's what I was learning, and that's what I'm still trying to get better at. Is like coming home and sharing the stories of what's going on over there and how people can be a part of it. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think God blesses people with making money, which is there's nothing wrong with making money.
Yeah, absolutely.
God God needs those people. And then God also blesses people with finding opportunities for people to do good with that money. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
and so I want to be I want to be that person. I have a lot of friends in the Seattle area that are so hardworking and blessed, and their businesses are doing very well. And they're looking for opportunities to do good. And so it's a privilege to be able to share with those friends, like, hey, we're building this school, we're planting this church. Do you want to be a part of it? Go, and then taking them there like a year later, and they see it themselves. They see the impact, and it's mind blowing when
Yeah.
they see like they build a school, they show up a year later, there's 100 kids in there.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty cool. Um, so yeah, like I said, it's an honor to be doing this. It's not easy. It's hard work.
Sure.
You're dealing with third world countries that are there's a lot of corruption and government issues, um, and you're dealing with staff in like in multiple countries and different cultures, and but you you when you see the impact to yourself, it just keeps you going, you know. And
Yeah.
when you see lives changed, it's pretty amazing to be a part of this.
Yeah, I think, oh my gosh, I'm like so full right now, just like hearing these stories. I know for me, and this is just a straight moment of vulnerability because I would say I'm a pretty bougie fellow. So like I like my things, like just there. I like to have access. And so one of the toughest parts for me going on my first missions trip was the food. And we went to this orphanage in Mexico, and not that the food was bad at all, but it was
Mhm.
the almost like the lack of food, of just like, oh, I can only eat these 3 meals a day. So are there any things like that that you have of just like you're going on this trip and you just know like I'm gonna have this moment of lack of whatever, but I gotta deal with it?
Um, well, I will say I the way we do our trips is we don't it would be the worst thing if you take someone on a trip and they get sick and they miss half the trip.
Sure, which I've
So
experienced. So yeah.
so that that would miss the point
Hmm.
of a trip. And so we don't do that. We take people to uh, malls or restaurants that we know are safe. We don't have street food and things like that because we're not from there. It our bodies can't handle what the locals can handle. Um, we want people to be present. We don't want people to be sick in the hotel. We want people to be out on the field with us, uh, impacting the kids, the families that we encounter. And so um, we actually purposely we sleep in hotels, we eat good food, we give people rest because we want them to be healthy and ready for the next day.
Sure.
And so for us, we we don't I don't value as much like, hey, I want you to sleep on this mat on the ground with this kid so he just feels connected and all this. Like,
Sure.
no, I want you to be healthy and full of energy, and so you can hang out with that kid. You know,
Right.
I don't want you to be sick. That's that we miss the mark if that's the point of it. You know, people only have a short amount of time. If they only get a week off of work and you get to experience this once in a life trip, but then they get sick. I mean, so all that to say is we make sure people are healthy and are safe. You know, we've been doing this for over a decade, and so we have a great system, and we make sure people have Wi-Fi. Where we want people still run businesses and have families, and so they still need
Oh
to
wow. Yeah.
be connected at home. You know,
Yeah.
that's just part of reality of life. You know,
Mhm.
um, and so we ensure that these things happen. But yeah, there's not really much that, you know, you go without that much. I mean, it's hot, you're in a van traveling from place to place, so you're kind of cramped in with other people. So there is some of that. And but during the day, you're out and about all day. I mean, morning till night, we have an agenda. I mean, so there's not a lot of time where you're just texting
Sure.
or there's, you know, we have a good meal at breakfast, but then all day you're gone. Sometimes we skip lunch and we just tell people, here's your energy bar, go for it. You know, we have to hang out with these kids, you know, we're building something or working on a project, you know, or we have a medical camp. We'll have a big dinner. You can go without a meal, you know.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, we try to give really a good whole trip, holistic trip to so that everyone we want to ensure everyone has a great time but is healthy and safe.
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing. I mean, I think there's a place for both. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I think it's great to have experienced the lack of abundance, you could say, of just like,
yeah,
oh, I could have some hot Cheetos here and there in my downtime. But like I do also like the aspect of like the security of knowing that you're gonna be safe and healthy during the
Yeah.
duration of your trip. So what are I I know there's a lot, so maybe you can give the main ones. If you would like, I would like to hear all of them, but all the places that you guys go.
Yeah. So um, we do work obviously here in the US.
Mhm.
We do work in El Salvador. That's our newest country that we just launched into this year. Then we have Eastern Europe. We have Romania, Ukraine, Moldova. I'm missing one up there. I'll remember it later. And
Please
then we
throw it out.
have Eastern Europe, um, or excuse me, East Africa. We have Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. Then we have Israel. We do work in Israel. Then we have Nepal and Pakistan. I think that's everything. I think I'm missing one or two, but anyways, yeah, it's every country, like I said, we focus on different things. But our main three are schools, medical clinics, and church planting. Right now, we have 5 medical clinics that we've built. We have 5 schools with something around 600 to 700 students that
Oh
we
wow.
clothe, educate, feed twice a day, and they get free health care at our medical clinics on the property. And some of these kids, I would say most of these kids, those 2 meals they have at our schools are the only meals they're going to have that day.
Oh wow.
Probably half of these kids are orphans, so they live on the street. But then we connect them with a family from our church, which kind of is our foster program in a way, where they live with a family from the church. And then our principal from that location oversees that, manages all that. Um, and then, like I said, we work with refugees. In Pakistan, we rescue families from slavery, human trafficked humans. I mean, they're enslaved, which is wild to think that that still happens in this day and age, but it does happen. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, we do widow programs, we do adult education, we do sewing schools for women that are trying to learn a profession so that they can make money. Um, yeah, we do a lot, and yeah,
What would be some of like, because I'm sure there's similarities in a lot of them, but a lot of differences as well, just because of location and maybe access to certain things. So let's say you're somewhere like Pakistan. What would be the difference between that trip and maybe a trip to like Israel?
yeah. In Israel, when we went to Israel, we basically helped displaced family that were living on the
Mm.
Israeli Jews that were living on the Gaza border there. They got displaced. They were living in schools and churches. And so we raised money to partner with a church in Jerusalem. And we basically got them food, clothing, uh, tents, sleeping bags. Uh, Practically, we helped them. We created ways to kind of VBS style, playing with their kids so the parents could figure out their next steps. And so that that kind of trip is more hands-on humanitarian aid during a war. But if you go to Pakistan, you're going to be probably more connecting with in the slums, dealing with people that are, I mean, the poorest of the poor living in shacks. And you're trying to find a way to help them that day. Like, what do you need for today? And then you're connecting with slaves, that are making bricks all day in this factory. And so every trip is different, honestly.
Okay, yeah, I kind of I gathered that just from the variety of things that you've said
Yeah.
today. And I think
Eh,
one thing that was so impactful, even just hearing the first time, Actually, before I go there, I'll share this. I have a couple friends right now that are on a mission trip in Pakistan, Iraq, and I forgot the other country, but they're with another organization. But they post on their Instagram story the basically the slavery, the brick making, and as soon as I saw it, I knew it was going on because I heard this story before. But can you go into that story of the one that your dad shared at the golf event that I was at?
Yeah, I think I remember which one. So there's countless stories of,
Sure.
people that how this system works in Pakistan. It's essentially legal slavery. Um, a person will come to a factory owner and say, "Hey, my mother or father passed away. I need $500 for the funeral. I'll work it off. I'll work for you after." Um, but then the interest from that, these slave owners, these brick factory slave owners, have created a system where they can never pay it off, and then the debt just keeps growing. So much so that that original man marries a woman from the brick factory, then they have kids, then those kids are working and growing up in the same factory, and then they get married, and so there's generations that are just stuck in this when their total debt might be like $2,000, which is wild, and they can never get out of this. And so, as a dad who of three little kids, and when you see kids that are your kids' age waking up at 4 in the morning and working for 12 hours making bricks in the Pakistan heat, which is over 100 degrees every day, I mean, that rocks you. And so, yeah, there's just so when we found out this exists about 5 years ago, having seen it with our own eyes, being at those factories, we knew that we needed to create some sort of system that we can rescue these families, so that we can break generations of this curse, and then give freedom for generations ahead. And so what we do is, we find a family and we say, "Tell us your story." And uh, we hear their story. Okay, this is my grandpa. He first got here. This is his son and his kids, and then there's generations that are there. So by the end, there's maybe 8, 10 people in one family. And so we find out their debt. Let's say it's $2,000 or so. We raise money. We get that family sponsored. But not only that, after we and it's a receipt that you get back from the brick factory owner. You're signing it. It's all documented. You give them cash. Gives you a receipt that they are free. So imagine you going with the receipt to the family and you saying your debt is paid. Here's your receipt. And then they're just bawling. And then not only that, you go into their little shack and you take all their clothes, their their few pieces of furniture they have, and you load it all up in a truck, and you load the family up and you drive away with them. I mean, the it's talk about emotional. So what we do is after we rescue the family, we actually relocate them to another city where we have one of our churches where one of our national director can oversee them, because we don't ever want that brick factory owner to find them somehow. So we relocate them. We pay for 6 months of rent for them so they don't have to worry about rent. We give them some food for a few months, and we actually provide them a vehicle, which is basically like a motorcycle with a little flatbed on the back. So we are giving them a way to make money. So they can buy and sell, they can transport things. And so we are actually creating a way for them. We're not just rescuing them dropping them somewhere and like figure it out. No, we are helping them start a new life. And then our team checks in on them every month. They come to our church. They have a community. They have support. And so this is what I mean with like, impact,
Yeah.
in such a practical, tangible way. So all of that costs about $4,500 with buying a vehicle, rent, some supplies, and paying off their debt. You can change generations of a family for under $5,000, which is mind blowing.
Insane to think about. And
Yeah.
I think the biggest like uh sort of whoa moment is not the fact that this stuff is happening. It's how little it takes to get into that. You know what I mean? Like, what's the lowest amount of debt that you've ever seen?
We had one young family, $1,100.
Wow.
Yeah, $1,100 was all they had to pay off, and they had been stuck in debt for 20 something years. It
Wow.
started with the dad, needed it for a family member passing away, and then the son got born into it, and then he had kids there, and um, which is which is just a shame. And when you go to Pakistan, you see thousands of these factories, thousands.
Wow.
Yeah, so right now we're actually creating a marketing campaign of how we could share about these families, and you can get a picture of them with their kids, hear their story, how many years they've been enslaved, what's their total debt, um, because we want to get these families rescued. So over the last 3 years, we've rescued something like over 300 humans,
Yeah.
and which is incredible that God kind of opened up this avenue for us that we never thought we'd be a part of. I mean, when we started Vital Solutions, we thought we were just going to do healthcare
Oh,
and just build medical clinics, and then God just opened doors for different things, uh, and now this new avenue, this path of rescuing families, and uh, God did that, and now it's on us. How do we share about it and get more families rescued?
yeah, that's amazing. So how
Yeah.
often do you guys do these trips?
Throughout the year, we have, uh, for example, we just went to El Salvador last month in April. We in July, we're taking a team to Kenya. They are for 10 days. It's a team of just construction. They're going there to work at so it's from a church partner in Texas. It's a buddy of mine, and he's like, "Hey, I want to bring a team, and we want to work on the school." So our biggest school in Kenya has about 300 kids, and it just needs a facelift with paving, painting, windows, electrical, plumbing, all,
Yeah.
this is a team of builders that are coming. And so they're going for 10 days, and they're just going to work. And they don't want any fluff. They don't want nothing. They want to be there and just help people. And so we have that trip. And then we have a team going to Pakistan and Nepal. Then we have a fall, we're going again to Kenya. So throughout the year, we have teams going for various purposes, whether it's a medical team, construction team, general trip where you kind of see everything. So that's what I mean. Like there's a place for everyone,
Yeah.
and that's what we want our trips to be. We don't want people to feel, oh, I don't know, I'm not a pastor, I'm not a
Sure.
medical professional. Doesn't matter. You can be, and it goes back to what if all you're doing is playing with kids the whole time? That's
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah. Man, I remember hearing on the first mission trip I went to, I remember hearing this story of a just a random guy that went on that same mission trip, probably 20, 25 plus years before us. And it was in that same orphanage where this random guy just brought this kid a guitar and gave this kid a guitar. And then fast forward 25 years later, that kid that got the guitar is now the one that's like leading the worship at that facility. So you literally never know what God's going to do
It's
within the
awesome.
next, possibly within your lifetime of you just pouring into a kid in a moment. And so I think the impact and just the willingness of God's people to do something like that is outstanding to me.
Yeah,
Just the willingness of people to go be uncomfortable for a couple weeks to get a sense of what maybe some people are feeling for their entire lives is absolutely incredible to me. I
that's
can't even
awesome.
like, yeah, I'm overwhelmed right now with just a sense of gratitude for people like you that are on the ground. How often do you specifically go on these trips?
I used to go a lot more.
Hmm.
I've cut back now that I have a couple kids, and
Sure.
it's harder to be away. I will tell you a little side note. Having a partner that supports you
Mm.
is crucial.
Yeah.
My wife is a rock star. She is the best. For her to not only support me and believe in what I do, but then be there for the kids when I can't be. And then, so not only do I travel international, but then I do fundraising events throughout the country as well. So I have quick trips here and there, uh, and it goes back to choosing the right partner is is everything. And so God has really blessed me with an amazing wife, and I couldn't do it without her, honestly.
I
If
love
she
that.
was like, no, sorry, I can't, this is, you're traveling too much, you're gone too much, that would impact everything, and but yeah, she's amazing. So yeah, I travel probably one or two international trips a year, and then a bunch of small trips to our various partners around the US. Uh, but before kids, it was a lot more, like gone 2 weeks here, 2 weeks
Sure.
here.
Yeah.
But there's different seasons of life.
Hmm.
When you have little kids, it's harder, but when they're older, it'll be easier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And kind of wrapping this up around the hour mark. Uh, sorry, excuse me. What are some ways that maybe somebody's watching that they're super impacted by the stories that you've shared and want to get involved in some way, shape, or form, whether that's maybe through reaching out in prayer, finances, wanting to join a trip, where can they get in contact with you guys?
yeah, great question. Our website, vitalsoul.org. You can also look us up on social media, Vital Soul, or on Facebook, Vital Solutions. You can look me up. I'm posting all the time. You'll see a bunch of cute pictures of my family, but also about what we do. Uh, and Yeah, I'm sure you can also reach out to Xavier. He can pass out my phone number. I believe in what we're doing. I've seen the impact with my own eyes being there. And I know I'll always be a part of this organization, part of doing good for the rest of my life. And so, if you want to be a part of it, whether it's finances, coming on a trip, or prayer, we could use all of that. And so, hit me up. I'm always around Seattle, Kirkland area. Grab. I'm always down for a coffee, get to know more people. And Yeah, bro, I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah.
Great to connect with you, hear about your heart for why you're doing this. But then thanks for giving me an opportunity to share about what we do um and why it matters. So
Absolutely.
thanks, bro.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on and sharing these incredible stories. And I will seriously encourage. I haven't been on one of your guys' trips yet, and keyword yet, because I need to make that happen. But I would encourage every single person watching this, not to say that you have to go to the ends of the earth, like I said earlier, but go on a mission trip. I think even though maybe not everybody's called to that lifestyle of overseas missions trips, I think that everybody should experience it because one trip is enough to have a life-changing encounter. I really believe that. I've experienced it. So I would encourage every single person to at least go on one missions trip. And you guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Flavius, for coming on. It was truly an amazing episode. Like, I don't just say that lightly because I want to get some more energy up. Like, from the moment that I heard your dad speaking and you speak at the golf tournament, I was like, man, this is something that I really want to know more about, and I'm sure the people are grateful for having this, having had their ears open to something like this. So thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for watching. I pray blessings over all of you guys, and that the Lord would keep you and keep you guys safe as you're on your missions trips. I mean, I can only imagine some of the dangers of some of these areas too. So we definitely pray for you guys, as your guys' safety and for all of your people there. So with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. Thank you again for coming on, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.